up, everyone? True Techno Gamer here, and Happy New Year, right? I know it's been a while for me. Beginning of the year is always a crazy time, but I do have some content coming. I do have some ideas working on the channel, but I'm going to be focusing more on some gaming stuff as of late because there's a lot of stuff going on right now, right? So I want to talk about RE9, Resident Evil Requiem, which, you know, this is Thursday, the day before it actually officially comes out. And early reviews are glowing, saying it's great. Some people are saying it's the best Resident Evil game ever. Definitely in the context of 2026, in terms of the overall gaming landscape and AAA gaming landscape, it seems to be a success. The technology is, being highly regarded and applauded on everything, PC, console, whatever. Now, I wanted to talk about this. I haven't played the game yet. Obviously, it's not out yet. But I was really thinking about how do I want to play this game and enjoy this game. Obviously, I have a PS5 Pro, right? You guys know that if you follow my channel. And I also recently upgraded my PC rig, right? So much more on that soon, okay? So stay tuned for that. So I have a high-end PC rig, right? So the Resident Evil Requiem PC port is supposed to have full-on not only ray tracing, but path tracing, which, and Capcom, I know, put a lot of effort into that. So that's just like crazy, right? To have a AAA game like this, have real-time path trace visuals, right? Looks amazing, no question. However, then you have the PS5 Pro, which we are seeing now, is far and above and beyond the other consoles, the base consoles. Obviously, this game is out on Xbox Series S and Switch 2, so it's completely scalable, right? It can scale way down, but it's also out on the base PS5 and Xbox Series X. But the PS5 Pro version, actually, like was said before, in the lead up to launch, it actually does a 4K output at 60 frames per second with full ray tracing in the game. And the 60 FPS is damn near locked. I mean, we're talking 99 percentile easily. Few drops here and there, but 99% of your time is going to be spent at 60, which is awesome. So not only that, it has much higher image quality, apparently, than what we see on the base PS5 and the Xbox Series X, because it's using an advanced temporal upscaling solution. Okay. Now, the folks at Digital Foundry, John just did his video and he mentioned how good this upscaler is, but was really oddly quiet and coy about saying what the upscaler was, which is not typical of Digital Foundry at all. Okay, if you watch any of their videos, they're quick to say this is FSR, this is, TAA, this is PSSR, right, for Pro ports, whatever it is. He just called it a really high quality temporal upscaler. So not rumors, but the word is that this is probably the first game on the PS5 Pro that uses a brand new PSSR algorithm, which we've been calling around the internet PSSR 2.0. We don't know if that's the final name for it, but a new version of PSSR that is higher quality and better performing. And when you look at what it's doing on the Pro, full RT, reflections, GI, AO on the console, on the Pro, at a flat 60 with the 4K upscale going on. And the base PS5 and the Series X doesn't have any RT at all. And it doesn't use a temporal upscaler. It uses a really low res spatial upscaler, similar to like FSR 1. Don't know why, right? That seems interesting, but probably for performance reasons, right? They wanted to keep the lock 60 experience, so they had to get rid of RT. They had to lower the overall fidelity, even though the base PS5 and the Pro both use the same input resolution of 1080p. So that is really interesting. But the bottom line is the Pro, you're getting a really nice, clean, pristine image with ray tracing effects throughout that really enhances the game. And that's going to give you something that is a relatively high-end PC experience, especially to keep it locked. Okay, no, not the full ultimate path tracing, of course, but to run that game on PC with RT at, there's a low, medium, high setting for RT, so it might be in the medium range. We'll get more detail, but to still do that, you're gonna at a locked 60, like at a 1% low of 60, let's say, you're gonna be using something relatively high end. I mean, probably on the order of at least a 50-70 level. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now, in thinking about where I want to play this game, initially I was completely undecided. I was waiting till like now when the embargoes lift. So when I started hearing how it turned out on the Pro and the base consoles, how the performance is on the PC as well and what it's doing. And then also about the game itself, right? Like how good is the game really and whatever. And I was undecided. I was, now that I have this new PC rig, I was leaning actually to like maybe I might just try to play it on the PC to get the full path tracing. And, it's not a terribly long game, right? I might be able to, enjoy that. And, you're thinking, oh, DLSS 4.5 and I can run it with frame gen at hundreds of FPS and yeah, all of that, right? But here's the thing, guys. I've always said, and I'm going to go into this a lot more, that I fundamentally am someone who cares about the actual game experience, just playing the game, getting into the game and enjoying the art that the developer has created for my consumption. Okay, if you care about just being in the game, not all of the extra auxiliary stuff around the game, then the console is the best place to play. And I still stand by that. In fact, I would say that that's more true now than it ever has been, considering the fact that consoles are pretty much a match feature for feature in terms of what you get on the PC, where you see, there was a time, I'm old enough to remember a time, guys, where a console port was an entirely different game, right? Because of memory constraints, because of processor constraints, usually it was memory constraints. You had to like literally, remove levels, remove parts of the environment, remove characters, remove the number of players, lower the player count that you can have online. And, and again, entirely different maps in many cases. Like I remember those days. That was when there was a gulf, right? Like a true gap. And nowadays, any game that comes out on the console and the PC are pretty much a match in terms of all of that. Like the full game is there. The full experience is there. And now you're getting, 4K output and in 99% of all games in this generation, a 60 FPS option at least, right? And with the Pro, that 60 FPS option is usually higher quality, higher IQ or higher settings or both, right? Meaningfully high quality at 60 FPS. So there's this question of like, well, what do you value? What's good enough and whatever. For me, you're talking to somebody, as you know, following this channel, that I have a pretty nice home theater, Dolby Atmos setup, beautiful speakers, subs, huge OLED, HDMI 2.1 screen with VRR and 120 hertz support, all of that goodness, right? So a game like Resident Evil 9, and listening to the previews, people are talking about how good the graphics are, how good the visuals are at the core, not because of the path tracing only. Path tracing is icing, the cherry on top, but the core visuals, character models, textures, environments, shading, all of that stuff is just top notch. But also, they talked a lot about the audio quality. This is a game that Capcom has designed from the ground up for this generation, the PS5 generation, where 3D audio, as we know, is a first-class citizen, is a core feature of this generation of consoles, especially, right? And PS5 in particular, I mean, the way that they have it set up with the Tempest 3D audio, pretty much, is really easy for a developer to implement excellent 3D audio. And Capcom has gone the extra mile and really honed in on just superb 3D audio. And for a horror game like this, like Resident Evil, a horror game, lights out, 13 speakers around Bowman, and you got sounds coming from above, behind. I mean, that is awesome, guys, and that is not something I can replicate on a PC at this point, no matter what spec. I have a 2.0, set up on my desktop rig here. And I'm not putting my PC in the home theater. I said that before. That's not going to happen for various reasons. So, I think about that. I have a nice OLED screen for my desktop now. So visually, yeah, it would be great. But just the overall experience, the convenience, and the comfort of sitting in my couch in my home theater or my chair and having that kind of experience with an experience on the Pro, at least, that is more than good enough. Because if you guys have heard, it features, again, RT, which makes a big difference in this game because it's been designed with it in mind. Although clearly it's not RT as a minimum spec because the base consoles don't have it, right? But it's been designed for it in mind. So we see beautiful reflections and GI materials. And it's crazy that the Pro is actually able to deliver that. I mean, this is arguably at this point the best representation and justification of the Pro's power and what it really can bring, because it really is quite a gap over the base between the image quality, just it being sharper, more 4K like. It's going to look brilliant on my OLED screen downstairs, and it also having almost flawless performance, and also having a 120 hertz performance mode that also is not on the base consoles without RT, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's up there. It fluctuates, but it's all within VRR range. And it's hitting 120 in many cases. So if you really just care about performance, it's there. But if the balance of 60 FPS with a game like this, with ray tracing, with the clean 4K output, with the DualSense, as well, the DualSense controller features that they're also taking advantage of, and then this sublime, arguably one of the best, from what I'm hearing, the best 3D audio experiences you'll have in gaming. That's what my whole thing is about. True techno gamer. That's what the whole home theater setup is about, y'all. Like, I don't think I can pass on that, man. When you take that whole experience in totality, and I'm not even going to go into all of the other PC issues that I actually do that bother me. I'll say that in terms of just, performance issues, stability issues, driver, OS, all of that kind of stuff, right? Without even taking that into consideration, the total experience that I can get on that Pro console in my setup, I think it's an easy choice, right? And that's interesting to me because the considerations of thinking about where I want to play my games, again, having the best of all worlds in this case, again, now having a top of the line PC spec, and then having the best of the consoles that is available today, that's an interesting thought, right? So I really did. I was kind of like, this is a game I already know that. I already know that it's doing a bunch of advanced stuff on PC. And that stuff is cool, no question. But to really sit there and enjoy the entire 10 to 12 hour experience, I can't imagine it being better than it will be on the Pro in my home theater, right? So think about that, guys, because I know a lot of y'all are probably like, yeah, of course, if I had a PC like that, or on my 5090, 5080, 4090 rig, whatever, I'm going all in on PC, whatever. But again, I'm always going to add this home theater spin to it, which is fairly unique. If I'm just playing on the TV, yeah, right. Even a soundbar is pretty good, but you could argue, again, the equivalent speakers I have right now for my desktop is probably about what a soundbar can do. But to have that kind of experience, that's a tough one to trump when you put it all together, right? Now, if it was issues visually, if it looked ugly on the Pro, blurry and just had a bunch of performance issues, then obvious answer. But it's a pretty solid, flawless 60 FPS with near native 4K like image quality, with our ray tracing implemented in the game as well. I mean, the only thing missing from the PC is the full-on path tracing, which obviously isn't going to be noticeable in every scene, A, but B, it's still stupidly expensive, guys. Okay? A 5090 is running at sub 30 FPS if you max everything out with path tracing. 5090. So I can't even run that on my 5080 because I'm gonna run into VRAM stuff as well. I have to use DLSS, performance mode, FG to even approach 60 FPS. And even then, it's not necessarily going to be as consistently 60, flatline 60 as I would get on the Pro. So that's what it would take for me to get full on path tracing on my advanced PC rig, right? I don't think that's worth it. I don't think that's worth it. And now, will I play it on the PC? I'll be able to play it on the PC, at least to try it and, just to see how it looks. I actually already have, but, just to try it, I can do that. But to really sit there and enjoy the game, I think we go into to the Pro. But let me know what you guys think. I mean, does that make sense? And if you guys are, have really good home theaters and that you game on, think about that. Because I feel like there's not a whole lot of conversation really about home theater gaming. People talk about home theater, they do TV reviews, and they'll mention, oh yeah, playing games in here, this TV looks good. But the whole experience of that audio visual experience that you can get with a high-end home theater that I've invested a lot of time and money in. But as a gamer and someone who loves gaming, what does that really look and feel like, right? I'm going to be talking a lot more about that, guys, so stay tuned. But in this case, I just wanted to say that before the game drops and before I kind of actually get my hands on it, this was my thought process going in. And yeah, I think the Pro is going to be ultimately the way to go. That said, of course, PC is, if you have a 5090, let's be honest, maybe a 4090, to get the absolute best experience on PC that really would go beyond the console, by all means, right? Enjoy your, obviously multi-$1,000 investment for sure in that regard. But I think the Pro is more than good enough. And I think that's the experience that is going to mean the most to me. So let me know what you guys think about this. And if you guys had similar dilemmas for Resident Evil 9 or maybe other games too that came out recently or thinking about it for the future games, let me know. Sound off in the comments. Let's get into it. And again, a lot more to come about my new PC and this whole discussion about where is the best place to play. Stay tuned. Talk to you guys later.